Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome, everybody, to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number 163. I'm your host, Klauss Nightbringer, and joining me today, why did it do that again, is Seyrr Timono. Seyrr, how are you, buddy?
Just to be clear, why did it do that again is not like a slogan or catchline for me, is it?
No. It's, the cameras were just a little bit off. They weren't in the frames properly, so I had to adjust the size of the Discord window.
Got it, because that would have been uncomfortably plausible. Anyways, hi, I exist. I'm doing okay.
How have you been since the last episode, which wasn't quite 2 weeks ago?
I am cat sitting again. In-person library programs have started up and they have been nice but also tiring. I have been wanting to try running Savages but just haven't had the brain space and felt bad about it for a little bit before I realized it was stupid to feel bad about that, and now I don't.
Yeah, because why?
That said, Spender said he's just about to clear P3S. He is like getting to the last phase at this point.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
And sending me lots of memes about spicy chicken.
What about the chicken tenders? Are they ready to
Nope,
fry?
it's spicy chicken when you're in P3S.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
How about you? How are things?
Well, this was probably the busiest couple of weeks that I've had in a long time. You know, with things kind of coming back to normal. I went to a convention!
Ooh, and you do not appear to have con crud.
No.
Well done.
Nor did I get COVID. So thank you very much to the Anime Detour crew for putting on an amazing convention that was held this last weekend in Minneapolis. The big thing with that was they kept their COVID-19 guidelines up, where you had to either have a negative test done by in a clinical setting. So you had to go to like a either a hospital, clinic, or I think they probably would have accepted like a pharmacy, as long as it was done by a trained somebody trained in doing that kind of stuff versus the at-home ones. Or you
and
have,
I'm guessing. Keep going.
Or you have your immunization card, and masks were required in all areas of the con.
And I'm guessing people were just a little more conscious of like general cleanliness and whatnot.
Yes. One of the things, I mean, we made sure to keep, clean and hydrated. I brought lots of hand sanitizer. We had N95 masks. We had vitamin C, vitamin D. We were making sure to get plenty of rest as well, even though we were kind of stupid on the last night and we're a little bit crazy, but
hey, if people can go to conventions without being debilitated afterwards, I am all for that.
Yes, as long as
and
people
Seven
are
Deadly
smart.
Streamers is reminding us that you got to cosplay a bit too.
Oh, yes, I did. I actually got to break out my 2 new cosplays that I had from 2 years ago. Thank God they still fit. But
Yeah.
If you want to join our Discord, let me actually pop. You know what? I need to pop that open before I can put the links in there. Where did it go? There it is. In our pictures channel, I actually posted. I didn't get many pictures of my cosplay this year, which is fine. I have a few that'll be coming. I went to the actual photography area and had a professional photographer take the pictures, and he's got to go through everything. So, but I got to do my Maze Hughes. So I posted a picture of that in the pictures. I also did Sarutobi Asuma from Naruto.
Mhm.
Of course, I had to do Kakashi. Got to do Kakashi Sensei. And also I ended up doing Urahara as well because why not?
Nice.
Did not get to do Red Mage this year because, well, the one I had commissioned did not quite make it yet, which is fine. I would rather have it done right than have it done fast. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Actually, now I think I can.
Fast, right, cheap, choose 2. In some cases, choose 1.
There we go. Now I'm putting in the right links and stuff. So I keep forgetting to turn on Chatbot. So.
Chatbot, we love you.
Yes, Chatbot is back now. So, and then also on Friday night, last Friday night was the a New World concert in St. Paul. So it's the 3rd year that I've been able to go. got to meet Crispy, one of the our listeners, and his wife. We had a very lovely dinner at a restaurant called Grey Duck Tavern. Those from Minnesota, you get it. Other people, they're like, what?
I know this because I went to college with someone from Minnesota, and she explained the whole thing.
Yes.
It's still weird, but
It's Grey Duck, not Goose.
they play duck, duck, gray duck. No one quite knows.
Because it's the correct way of doing it. That's why. Very Minnesota themed, farm to table style restaurant. Very good food. The burgers are excellent. And they had really good onion rings. And then the show was amazing. They actually performed new music. They had some new arrangements of a few songs. Hopefully that means they're going to be coming out with a third disc of music soon. So hopefully look forward to that. But other than that, it was just an amazing weekend to be around people, to hang out with my sister and two of her friends. It was their first con, and they got to spend it in a VIP suite. That was pretty fucking epic. But
it is still weird to think about just how many of the introverts are suddenly excited to be around people for once.
And now we don't want to do it again for like months.
I mean, yeah.
Because I was talking about this today with my tattoo artist. Is like, you know, I enjoyed going. It was great to be around all these people, but I don't want to people again. Because it drains me. It literally drains me. I get so tired after, you know, dealing with a bunch of people that it's like, do I really want to do this? But it is fun, and I did miss it, and I enjoyed my time there. In fact, next year I've already signed up for next year, and I'm going VIP to the con itself, not the room.
Ooh.
Because as awesome as that room was, it didn't justify the price. It was a little spendy, but
as always, housing is overly expensive.
I am glad we did it though, because the experience itself was well worth it. So if you ever have the opportunity to do something like that and just go baller on something like that, even if it's just once in your life, just do it.
Yeah.
Provided it doesn't put you into Hawk for the next 5 years. And yes, I did mention I was talking to my tattoo artist today. If you check the pictures channel over there in our Discord as well, you will see my new dragon tattoo. I am the Klauss with the dragon tattoo.
Oh dear, is this going to become an entire series?
No.
Okay.
No, we're not going to write a whole series of books on Klauss with the dragon tattoo, or Klauss with the I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know where I was going with that.
This.
Neither do I. All I know is it was one in a series of books written by a Scandinavian author, and it became movies, and it was a thing. So that's all I really know about it, and we'll let the joke die there. But my leg is currently throbbing, but it turned out amazing. And now I have 2 really awesome tattoos that are a part of a themed piece of Death and Rebirth. You know, the whole story of the dragon and the phoenix. So there.
Symbolic.
Yeah. Other than that, I think that covers what I did since the last episode. So let's go into a little bit of gaming community news, starting with Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin had a very slow start in Japan, as well as there are a number of issues with the PC version. So let me copy and paste this into the chat. And thank you to Video Game Chronicle for this information. Apparently, Stranger of Paradise had the 4th lowest first week physical sales for a Final Fantasy game in Japan. I mean, even Dissidia NT had almost 3 times the sales.
Ooh.
This does not include any type of digital sales, or I believe this is just for physical PS4 and PS5 sales, but it sold under 50,000 for its first week in Japan. Well,
I'm kind of wondering what the 3 lower ones are, but that's still not great.
In the article, I can bring that up here. It is actually Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo's Dungeon, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles The Crystal Bearers, and Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo Tales.
Ouch.
Yes.
I did like the Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo Tales, but it also seemed like something that never really caught on.
No.
Oh, and that's just sales in Japan, but
Yes.
still.
Apparently, it actually was number 8 in the UK, but that it wasn't. It didn't have overly high numbers. And apparently, the PC version is suffering from a number of performance issues as well. Somebody was mentioning in one of the articles that I was reading that like the character model for the bat has like 300,000 polygons or something, some insane number. It's kind of reminding me of Final Fantasy 14 1.0.
I was just thinking about that, where you had like that platter that had just as many polygons as a full-on person.
Yeah, that's this bat is basically in the same position as that right now. And I guess,
and a lot of the same performance issues as a result, I'm guessing.
And apparently the hair game is very strong in the PC port, because if you get like characters with hair, you know, any type of decent hair in frame, it'll drop you to like 10 frames per second, and that's coming from somebody who had a 3080.
I do remember seeing someone commenting about or suggesting a bald mod for the characters for performance reasons.
Yep. That is a thing. That is legitimately a thing. In order to improve the frame rates, they made everybody bald. And, well, hopefully...
Normally, they don't make the same mistake twice, so this is a little disappointing.
Well, a lot of this was done by Team Ninja, so there was probably just some issues with the porting and, what's the word I want here? I won't think of it right now. You ever have one of those days you just can't brain?
We call them weekdays.
Yeah, or for me, the days that end in Y.
But yeah, hopefully it's something where they... It's still weird to me to have an idea of like a game has a poor release. Okay, it'll get patched, like for console games. That's still weird to me, which may just be showing my age on that, but hopefully they can at least get some improvements on it.
Optimization, that's the word I was thinking of. And I am probably going to pick it up still, but it is one that I'm going to wait until the performance issues have been dealt with. I don't want my poor 3090 to burst into flames trying to render Astos's hair.
Same. Like, I'd like to try it out at some point, but given these issues, I've got enough other stuff in the queue. It can wait a bit.
Yeah, like Chocobo GP.
Hey, Chili.
Hello, Chili. Welcome to the stream. But yeah, so that's a little bit of Stranger of Paradise news. And then also Final Fantasy 14 Live Letter 70 is scheduled for April Fool's Day. So I wonder how many jokes we're going to get in that.
Yeah, like the stuff they post in the developer's blog is usually pretty entertaining, even if some of them end up becoming reality later on.
Like Lords of Verminion?
Or apparently that a high school alternate universe they are actually working on a manga for now.
Yes, they are, which is hilarious. So I want to know when they're going to actually bring out the Chocobo taxi system.
I want the system where we get to date Garuda.
And Ravenheart, no, neither one of us have started Stranger of Paradise yet. We were just talking about how the PC version has a lot of issues that need to be dealt with first, at least before I buy it.
And in general, the physical sales in Japan have not been great.
Yeah, so it's like we talked about last week or last episode. It was kind of a mixed bag by the reviewers, and it needs some love before I jump into it yet. I will get it eventually, but I want to make sure it's in a playable state. It gives me an opportunity to do more Chocobo GP, more Vampire Survivors, and stuff like that. So
there's enough stuff to do.
Lots and lots of stuff. In the UK, if you do an April Fool after 12 p.m., you are considered the fool, huh? Interesting.
Huh. So it's just like a flurry of pranking in the morning, and then that's it?
Apparently. Or maybe that's the joke. I don't know. Anyway,
interesting.
The live letter will be talking about patch 6.1 Part 2. So we're going to get a little bit more information about the upcoming patch, probably a release date as well. And it's going to be Japanese audio only, but the slides, as always, will have Japanese and English on them. And you can view that live on the Final Fantasy XIV Twitch channel, their YouTube channel, or on Nico Nico.
They've also started updating the patch site as usual. Nothing of particular note. Some mentions about the MSQ, the Minstrel's Ballad of Ensinger's Aria, and the opening of the Imperium Residential District.
Yep, the things I talked about in the
stuff
last
we already
live
knew.
letter.
Yeah, mostly stuff we already knew, though there were a couple screenshots that have already been turned into hilarious memes.
Of course. But yeah,
Good times.
It's been a very light week for news on that side, which is nice, which means we can get even closer into our discussion topic, which we're bringing us back to Final Fantasy soundtracks. And
Ooh.
I know you guys have missed them. I've missed them too. They're one of my favorite things to talk about. And with as music heavy as my last week has been, I'm glad to get back into it on the podcast. Like I said, I went to that New World concert. I picked up 2 new physical soundtracks for Final Fantasy 1/2 and Final Fantasy 3. So I'm glad to have those in my collection now. But we've already done those. So today, it's Final Fantasy X.
Now, in terms of how it ruined the Final Fantasy franchise, at least among the fans at the time, this was the first one that featured voice acting. So you would often a lot of these pieces had to be composed to deal with the fact that there might be people speaking over them, which I think affected a little bit of some of the styling of it.
I think the biggest concern a lot of people had was the change from open world to a very linearly driven experience.
I mean, you've heard my thoughts on this. The hallway has always been there. It's just various levels of disguised.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, dungeons, kind of direct you in a certain way. But I mean, even in the early games, you could go in different ways and get lost and have to backtrack and go around.
And just having the general separation of an overworld map and then like the various like specific location maps. This was one where, no, you could pretty much walk along the entirety of the path from beginning to end. Once you did get an airship, it more had you selecting a list of locations rather than flying freely over a map. So a bit of a difference in style there as well.
Fast travel, basically.
Yeah. All of this in keeping with the general theme motif of being on a religious pilgrimage. You're not going around exploring freely, but you're progressing along a path from one spot to another to the various stations of the pilgrimage.
Yep. So I mean, in the storyline, it did make sense that you're not skipping ahead. You're not avoiding a particular chamber of the faith or something like that, or temple.
And you're not going off on some side thing or another. Like it is literally a religious pilgrimage.
Well, until a little later on, then you can do some sidetracking and questing.
Only once you've killed the major religious figure, as one does.
When you get to like the open area where you can chocobo race, and then you can choose
the Calm Lands.
Yeah, the Calm Lands, and you can go fight the monster arena and stuff like that.
A little
that
bit,
opens up a little bit,
but it was mostly just one area where you have like a batch of side quest things. It didn't really lose the feel of, okay, we're still kind of progressing towards this ultimate goal.
All right,
but that's all a little bit to the side here. Let's get into the bit we're actually here for with the music.
Well, the soundtrack actually starts like this.
最後かもしれないだろう。だから全部話しておきたいんだ。
It's basically, well, that's the Japanese voice actor for Tidus saying, this is my story. Listen to my story. So,
yeah, that's the theme that we're going to see a lot throughout this game. The idea of telling my story, of telling your story, of taking all of this things that have happened and making a story out of it, the story of someone's life.
But what most people think of when you think about Final Fantasy X is this was probably the most beautiful song to come out of a Final Fantasy game to date. When this game was released.
Oh, that slow piano. The whole thing's got a little bit of a mournful feel.
Definitely does. And
With the voice,
it's supposed to.
yeah, with the voiceover of someone talking about, listen to my story, you know this is not necessarily going to be a happy story.
I will say, hearing Benjamin Nuss play this live was amazing. We did actually get to hear this with the chamber orchestra on Friday night, so I was very excited. And that's like, we have to talk about this on the next episode because it works. So.
Yes, this piece I believe is called To Xanarkand. Xanarkand. Major location and entity throughout the story. Place where the main character comes from. Holy site.
Yep.
Goal of this entire pilgrimage.
Tidus' home.
And it's used as the framing device of it.
Okay, we should talk about this. Tidus or Tidus?
All of the official things I've heard say Tidus. That said, I always said Tidus when I was playing it.
I did as well, so it's going to be one of those things that's going to be a hard thing to break, like, Ramu kind of thing. Yeah.
Now, you would think that the whole having voice acting in it would give us a definitive thing, but this was, again, since it was the first one with voice acting, you still got to name the main character, which meant, of course, that anytime they would be referring to him in spoken stuff, they would be using anything except for his name.
Exactly. So,
it's a habit you can see in a lot of games. Those who play Genshin Impact will know how often they refer to the main character as Traveler or Honorary Knight or anything other than their name.
So yeah, we never got to actually hear them say it, but a lot of Square historians, video game players, people in the know. I want to say
Kingdom Hearts was the one where he was like a kind of a younger version was a minor character in the thing of it, and they pronounced it as Tidus there.
I still like Tidus.
I'll recognize either, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's a tomato thing.
But yes, the story here is used as a framing device. We come in kind of at the end of the pilgrimage as they've reached the final site for it, and it's starts as we are going to reflect on everything that has happened thus far. How did we get here?
But then we go to a very different version of Prelude.
Keep layering those elements on. Wait for it.
Wait for it. There we go. Takes a little bit to build up, but you do
in part because we're going over like sweeping shots of a very different location.
Yep, we are seeing Tidus's version of Xanarkand, and this is kind of the introduction to gameplay and mechanics as Tidus/Tidus runs through his hometown on his way to the Blitzball Arena. It's kind of the whole part of the
like the
introductory.
Yeah. Huge contrast to the somber piano piece we just heard. We've got those techno elements. It feels a bit more energetic, a bit more like kind of modern.
It does feel like somebody just broke out their Casio keyboard, though.
A little bit.
But in a good way.
Yeah, like it doesn't necessarily have a lot of depth to it, but it's got like a little bit of a peppy energy. Again, I think kind of this huge contrast to what we have starting out of this like fantastical, much more modern setting, which is actually going to be really important in part for establishing the huge contrast between where Tidus' story starts out and where it goes.
Yep. speaking of Tidus, this is Tidus's theme. You may have heard it a little bit in the pre-show. This obviously plays, in scenes that are very, prevalent on and heavy on Tidus's story. And so after we get through the kind of the tutorial portion, then we get this theme as he's, making his way further through Xanarkand and on his way, to play Blitzball. And get a little bit about his story.
He's been established early on as a star athlete, the player of this sport, and we actually hear this piece as playing as announcers on a TV broadcast are talking a little bit about his sports career, about that of his father, a little bit of like scene setting exposition for the game that he's heading towards. And so having the kind of his theme as we're giving a bit of establishment about who he is, what he's done, again, that paternal relationship that will also become an important element later.
Just a little bit.
Bit of scene setting there.
And as we make our way,
like a kind of pastoral feel to some parts of it, which is a little bit in contrast to the whole sports star in this techno utopia thing. It's something that fits in a little bit more with him as we see him in later scenes, but right now it's just something slightly discordant with the setting, which may have been a little intentional.
But then we get this. You want to talk about Discord? and not our server on Discord. This is a fight theme.
Yeah.
It is called Otherworld.
And we'll get those deep vocals coming in a moment. Oh. The first, this first plays over the Blitzball tournament Blitzball game done as a fully animated. Was it still called FMV at that point?
It was just a CG cutscene. But
yeah, CG
this is when Sin is attacking.
So the first bits of it are over the Blitzball game. So you have this at first seeming to just be like, okay, this frenetic energy of this sports game, this kind of brutal underwater combat, along with the very eye-catching scene of the arena being filled with water. Like, again, a lot of really fantastical elements, and then this heart-pounding, really forceful thing to emphasize that sports game. And then as Tidus launches himself out of the water globe for his signature sphere shot, seeing the incoming attack of Sin, whereupon it takes on an entirely different tone.
Yes. This also, an alternate version of this song plays during the boss battle against Braska's final Aeon on the PlayStation 2 releases.
Yeah. The title Otherworld, of course, seeming to refer to how you've got this one state that you're in, and then this other world that you're being drawn into. I remember lines like, the other world, it hates you. Talking about the travails that you go through on your travels through it.
And as the battle with Sin is starting to get bigger...
I mean, you call it a battle, but at this point...
You're running. You're running
at
this
battle
point.
has one side against another. This is just a full-on natural disaster.
Yeah.
Force of nature.
A force of sin. But at this point, we are running away from this monster that's attacking, and we're with, I believe at this point, we're actually with Auron, who Tidus knows. a friend of his father's, and he's just kind of this weird guy that's been, but hangs around Tidus and, watches his games and just.
It's implied that they know each other, but we don't really get a lot of the picture of that relationship.
Yeah.
But yes, this particular piece called Run, it plays during Sin's attack on Dream Zanarkand, as well as several other points in the story, usually where there's some big, overwhelming threat attacking, and the focus is not on standing against it, but on trying to escape from it.
Some heavy shit's usually happening when this song is playing.
Yeah. In this particular case, Auron mentions to Tidus, we called it Sin, which of course seems to imply that he knows a lot more about what's going on than he's let on. Mm-hmm. Which he continues to reinforce throughout this entire sequence.
Mm-hmm. Until we get...
Yeah, you've got that kind of building tension.
Yep. Now we switch over to a very different sound. We're not in Zanarkand anymore. This is the point where Tidus is being kind of pulled into Spira.
You've got, again, like that kind of ethereal element to it.
It's like he's gone to another world.
Well, this is the point where Auron is holding him up, where everything seems to be drawn into Sin, which Auron seems to be including him in it.
For reasons, of course.
Yeah, but where there's something kind of almost strange and mystical happening, this has moved completely out of the bounds of the everyday, out of this technical utopia, and into this otherworldly, for lack of a better, where he's being drawn into this strange monster, and it's unclear what exactly. Like, this was the point where I started thinking, okay, is this actually a monster? Is this just like some kind of contained wormhole portal thing? What the heck is going on here? Something strange and mystical is happening.
But the name of this song is This Is Your Story. So it's implying that we're starting our own little adventure here. Something very special, very different is about to occur.
I believe Auron even says that line to Tidus as he's throwing him into it, that this is your story.
Deal with it. And
we'll learn a bit more about what his deal is later on.
And after we go through this one, our next major theme is not a Radiohead song, but they have a song by the same name. Creep. This is the theme of the ruins at the Baj Temple.
Which, hang on, we don't even get to learn its name until much later on.
No, but
like
the underwater ruins at the start when he's in this new world.
You've got kind of like a little bit of the howling of the wind there. He finds himself on a structure out in the water, ancient, ruined, unclear what it is. He's cold, he's tired, he's hungry.
You know, Seven Deadliest streamers, we could just call him Titan.
Leviabetus?
instead of Tidus, we got Titan. No, we won't do that. Not at all. But yeah, it's very mysterious, very confusing, very ominous even.
Ominous is the word I would use. After all of that happens, he's found himself again out in the middle of nowhere. Actually has to swim through some bits of it, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Thank God he can swim, huh?
Yeah. Has to build a fire, is very concerned about, like at one point, just demanding that he needs food, in part because he's been through a lot. Like, this is the type of thing that would have killed a lot of people. The fact that he's in such great shape is probably part of how he's gotten through it.
But it's not safe. He has to fight things. And when you fight things, you have to have a battle theme.
Yep, we've got our normal battle here, which we'll be hearing throughout the entire game.
Yep. And I like this battle theme. I can still hear in my head. Boop, 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 boop. Shing.
Yep.
You're
It's kind of a
mine.
So yes, it is kind of a standard Final Fantasy thing to have a battle theme that's got like kind of those back and forth, the surge, the stuff where you may have sound effects going throughout all bits of it. This one is a little bit different in that, as you suggested, we've got voice clips playing over it.
Yep.
Shouts, occasionally puns for some of the abilities. Though I do appreciate that they only had those play very sparingly, oftentimes like the first time a spell was used.
Or when you're going to be killing an enemy.
Yeah.
Like the final kill shot will generally have some sort of little voice acted clip. Depending on who is doing it.
Or like Lulu would have some kind of punish comments the first time she cast various elemental spells.
Well, she kind of does.
Possibly a couple other points, but if she had done it every time, that would have been the worst. But nope. So you'll have some bits of over there. Oh, we got that kind of. All right.
And then
So
it
yeah,
kind
the
of
kind
goes
of back
through
and
this,
forth, the building tension.
and then it starts over again, basically at this point. Until what would a battle be without a victory fanfare? For getting all of your well-earned spoils, your guild, your grenades, and your spheres.
Huh. You've got your standard do, and then the little after bit.
Yep, which is
This is kind of de rigueur for the series at this point.
Yep. So this
It does
is
have kind of like a nice brassy heroic feel to it.
nice and bright. But if it doesn't go so well, a harpsichord version of Tsukite Dena.
Tsuteki
Dane.
Tsuteki Dane?
Dane, yeah. Sorry, I can talk today.
Yeah. No worries. The classical music as the game over, or classical music instruments as a game over theme is another one that's fairly standard for the series. Tsuteki Dane we'll hear much later on, though as usual we'll get motifs of it mixed into a bunch of other things.
Yes. At least it wasn't a 20-minute version of it like we've seen in some of the early games.
Yeah.
Not 20 minutes, but still rather long versus 34 seconds. So once we get through those first harrowing battles underwater, well, actually, this plays when we first enter the temple, I guess.
Yeah, before it's we're swimming up to Baj Temple,
Now
picking
we're
your
in
way
it.
over the sanctuary.
And it also plays when you find the Fahrenheit underwater and before fighting Seymour for the first time. So it's a very ominous sounding theme.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
The
ominousity in this game.
The literal title of, or the Japanese title of it literally translates as No Hopes or Dreams. The English title they gave it, of course, is Out of the Frying Pan, with the implied Into the Fire.
Yes, so you're kind of getting yourself into a little bit deeper than what you thought.
Ominous is a good term for it. I also want to call attention to the kind of like the low, like kind of shaking, like tambourine bell kind of thing. You have that as part. Let's see. Wait for that to come in. Yeah, which give it a little bit of like, again, some of those religious ceremony feels, which we're going to have coming up again and again. That Spira is a world that is very focused and very much revolves around its religious rites. But yeah, kind of that ominous. The places where we hear it are ones where it's kind of like you're approaching this really great, like the altar of a god or so. It's some type of thing that is big and ominous and mysterious and has this almost like reverential air to it, but in a way that you want to be very careful of.
And as Chili pointed out, as our protagonist Meg Ryan is going about the Baj Temple.
Yeah, poor dude has no idea what's going on.
Nor does he have very much luck in this new area. He's about to get captured by people that speak a very weird language that he does not understand. This is called Leap in the Dark. And it first plays when the Albed capture Meg Ryan, Tidus, as well as before some boss battles.
I think we can retire that joke now.
Meg Ryan? Meg Ryan.
Yes.
Meg Ryan.
The title literally translates to Secret Maneuvers. It's another one that's got a bit of tension to it. The secret maneuvers in that title, or Leap in the Dark, seems to suggest you don't know what's going on, stuff is happening around you.
Meg Ryan is scared. That's for you, Chili.
Why do you encourage him, Chili?
Because he's our bestie.
We do love him.
We do.
But yeah, the various points where it plays has some elements of like hidden or secret dangers.
So after he gets captured, they bring him up to their boat, and there's somebody who can talk with Tidus, and basically they say, "You're gonna help us out. You're gonna help us, go through these ruins and find stuff. You got no
don't
choice.
Work, you don't eat."
Exactly. So they go explore the underwater ruins.
This first bit has an almost sonar-like quality to it.
Makes sense. They're underwater.
Yeah. Like there's a melody playing on it, but it's definitely evocative of. Plays at a couple other points, all of which involve
Underwater.
some type of structure or other ancient ruin underwater.
Yeah, as we're exploring the ruins, this is the backing theme for it. You'll go back and forth between battle theme and your victory theme, but then it comes right back to this again.
Yeah. Besides the sonar-like pulses, you've got kind of that echoing of the deep.
So once they're done with that and they go back up on the ship, Tidus starts talking with the girl who he can understand. He finds out her name is Riku. And this song plays while Tidus is talking with Riku about his story, how he got there. Well, he doesn't really know how he got there. One minute he was in Xanarkand playing blitzball, and the next minute he's swimming and fighting these weird underwater creatures and getting captured by people who he can't understand.
Yeah. The piece itself is called We Are Albed. Fun little pun there in that the word we is spelled O-U-I and actually ends up being the Albed word for you. There's actually a bit of confusion here when Riku, while speaking to Tidus in English or whatever language you can understand, occasionally slips into Albed, lead to talking about, it's like, we thought we were a fiend. And he's like, we? It's like, oh, we means you. So a little bit of like playing around with that.
It's a nice little song, though.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a warmth and friendliness to it. In the midst of this complete confusion, everything that's happening, Tidus has found someone who's at least seems to understand him and is a little bit friendly. Not going to let him do what he wants, but he's at least found something, like some point of stability in all of this.
Yes. Until the enemy attacks. This is the first boss theme called Enemy Attack. And it's you fight the underwater like submarine kind of thing that shoots out explosives, and you gotta, it shocks you, I think, at some point if you're not careful. I'm trying to remember all this fight, but I think
there's a couple. That one might have been there's a couple different. I mean, it's the game's main boss theme. This is associated with a lot of stuff in my head.
Yeah.
But it's got those hallmarks we've seen of a lot of boss themes throughout the series. Still having kind of that like back and forth of like moments of more like tense defense, moments that are a bit more like active striking out, amped up a little bit with more tension because it's a boss battle. That kind of like almost like choral voices again feel like they work a little bit with the whole like religious theming of the game.
Yeah, because you're gonna hear a lot of that type of song in this.
Yeah, it's a common element to have like choir type voices or elements that are reminiscent of it, of like singing or chanting. Again, the religious motifs are all throughout this one, in part just because of the story and setting of it.
So they fight the boss, and they beat the boss, but I think, if I remember correctly, I don't remember exactly what happens, but Tidus gets knocked off the ship.
I believe Sin made another appearance.
Sin appeared and I think pulled Tidus off the ship or something like that. And at that point, he wakes up in a totally different place now.
Bit brighter, no more stormy seas. We've got clear skies, bright sun,
sandy beaches,
crystal blue water.
This song is called The Blitzers. And this first plays when Tidus awakens on the Besaid Sea and kicks a blitzball back at Waka and the Aurochs practicing on the shore.
Yeah. You have to wonder what's going through his head. He's been through all these traumatic experiences in the midst of playing a sports game. This monster attack ends up in a completely new place.
It's conscripted by strangers to attack underwater monsters and go through underwater ruins.
One of whom tells him that the city that he claims to come from has been gone for like 1,000 years. And then after all that, being cast back into the sea and waking up to see a blitzball float by.
What the fuck? Or as so eloquently put,
Nani the fuck?
Oh. So yes, Tidus of course does what he does best, sends a blitzball back to the people on shore who are asking him for a little bit of help with it, using some of his star player moves and shocking them in the process.
Yep. Nice little note, this is actually a livelier rearrangement of Tidus's theme.
Yeah. It shows up in several points where blitzball comes up. Tournaments, special events, things like that.
Yep. And then we get to the main theme of the island we're on, Besaid. And I don't care who you are, this theme slaps.
This is something we hear with a lot of the music in FF10, where it starts with like a basic thing that's kind of built and layered upon.
It's very synth wave style.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. I mean, with Tidus coming from the Dreams Anarch end, in the future or past, depending on who you believe.
I mean, it's a Final Fantasy game. Having like an ancient ruined civilization is par for the course.
That's futuristic.
It's just that you don't usually have the main character be someone coming from that.
No, exactly. But so I mean, because our main character comes from that area, a lot of the music is going to kind of carry that theme with it too, and it just kind of fits with how the whole game kind of plays. So
Yeah. I'll also mention one thing that comes up a lot in just a lot of the general design motifs. The setting on this one drew a lot of inspiration from the southern parts of Japan, the island of Okinawa in particular. So a lot of those kind of like island motifs, a lot of the artistic styles and like are really drawn from there. Gives it so even though we go to a lot of different locales throughout, it has a bit of that kind of like tropical island feel.
yeah, very South Pacific kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Gilligan's Island minus the coconut radios. Though I wonder if they have coconut radios in Besaid.
Well, as we'll find out, machines in general are something that are viewed with a lot of distrust.
Yeah, Machina is definitely, something that is cursed or by most of the inhabitants of Spira, we'll find.
Yeah. We have quite a few fish out of water moments. Tidus claiming, having been told to claim since toxin has affected his memory, giving a convenient excuse to have things explained to him. But so finds out that an important religious gesture was in fact the once upon a time a major blitzball sign. Things like that. All sorts of little moments and points of contact that are memories of where he came from, but in this really strange, twisted way. So he still feels some sense of connection to this world, but while maintaining that fish out of water status.
The song we're listening to now is called Spira Unplugged, which I thought was kind of fitting with the whole no machina. This plays when you first get into the village of Besaid, as well as through the village of Kilika, and at the Thunder Plains Travel Agency.
Yeah.
It's a nice little chill song that plays in safe areas.
Yeah, acoustic guitar using that melody of Suteki Dane that again we'll get later on.
Yes.
This is one that I've hummed to myself while working from time to time. It's got like a little nice kind of like, not bossa nova, like there's like a couple genres that are like sort of more islandy type ones that this really fits with.
Yep, which is very nice and very fitting. But speaking on the
That
entire
acoustic guitar, love it.
That's really nice. But speaking on the whole religious part of the storyline, this is another major theme that plays a lot through this game.
Yeah, this is one that will, another motif they'll be sampling heavily.
Hymn of the Faith. This is the temple theme. So anytime you enter a temple, you are going to hear a revision of this song.
Yeah, going from that chill island vibe to this, it again throws you off a little bit, unbalances you, reminds you that, oh hey, this is a very strange and alien world. Like, when I started hearing this one as we went through places, oh, it's finished already.
Yeah,
right, that is a shorter clip of it. We'll hear longer versions of it.
Yes.
But I suddenly had a feeling of, oh dear, I am in a very important space. I need to not do anything wrong. Is it okay for me to talk to these people? Again, reflecting some of Tidus's unfamiliarity with the situation and recognition that there's something important here that people will be very mad at you if you mess up, but not what it is.
Our next song is called Phantoms, or in Japanese it is called Gensu.
Now, this will be the theme of Lake Macalania when we get there later in the game, but we hear it at this point because it plays during Tidus's flashback of his mother and his life back in Zanarkand.
Very mystical sounding, but also very relaxed and chill.
Yeah, it definitely has a very chill vibe to it. Given the context in which we hear it, the title Phantoms is, of course, interesting.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, you know, because he's
Yeah.
thinking back to a time that no longer exists.
Yeah. The idea is like, okay, this is 1,000 years in the past, and everyone involved is dead.
Yeah, a long
Which he's
time
still
ago
not
in a not in a galaxy far away though.
Yeah, like he's still trying to figure out, is that a time that he'll be able to return to?
You'll have to play the game to find out.
Yeah. But at this point, there's some amount. But yeah, at this point, there's still some amount of confusion about what exactly is going on. Is there hope of being able to return home? He's still just trying to get his footing while being carefully warned by his companions that, hey, he needs to be a little bit careful how he approaches this, because again, he is dabbling in important stuff.
Yeah, because basically at this point he is helping out to protect a summoner.
Not yet.
Well, he's
Not yet.
They're trying to
So
figure
he has
out.
at this point he has showed up in Besaid. Waka's brought him in as this guy that he found on the beach, who don't know who he is, but he can kick a blitzball. And some
That's
stuff
right.
is going on.
Yeah, he goes into the temple, just just to explore it real quick, I think.
Yeah, like you can kind of, it's like walking into the town chapel and seeing like, okay, this is where they hold services, but there's nothing going on there quite yet.
But this next theme is generally not something that somebody who is not a guardian would hear. Because this is the trials, or the theme for the cloister of trials. It's somewhere that only a summoner and her guardians can enter.
Yeah,
Or their guardians.
Tidus,
In this case, her. But
Tidus, of course, has just found out that there's finds out while he's in the temple that there's a summoner in there, that they haven't come out in a while, that there's concerns about it, and showing the essential nature of who he is, says, okay, screw the rules, I want to go in there and help out.
yep. So
Violating every religious stricture they have on the whole thing, to the shock and horror of everyone assembled. To which he, I believe, calls out, like I care.
very, very Tidus.
Yeah. He has a lot of ideas about what's right, about how things should be done. He stands firmly for them, at the same time not always being wholly self-aware about how that's going to be received by the people around him.
He just kind of does what he thinks he needs to do, which in this case ends up being the right thing. He finds the summoner, and
Well, first he solves his way through a batch of puzzles.
yep, you have to find your way through there, and then he gets to the end of it as the summoner is exiting, very, very weakened from her battle,
Yeah.
from her encounter, let's call it.
The cloisters of trials usually involve a lot of puzzle solving. They're a bit of an interesting diversion. Each one has an opportunity for bonus treasure if you take some side paths and do some extra stuff, or you can charge straight through. There actually are a couple very nice bonuses if you get all of the bonus treasure throughout the game.
Which, who doesn't want 100% a Final Fantasy game, right?
But you again got some of those like mystical elements. You've got, there's some parts of it that actually vaguely remind me of FF7's Temple of the Ancients.
Yeah, I can kind of feel that. It's kind of got, kind of a weird, I don't know what's going on vibe, but it seems pretty spoopy.
Yeah, some of those are kind of like lower percussion.
And as he gets to the end,
Yeah, those like big chimes there.
this is another version of Hymn of the Faith, specifically for the summoner's first and newest summon, Valefor.
Yeah, we'll be hearing several variations of this throughout, the big variation being who is singing. We'll learn a little bit more about why that's significant later on.
So this plays specifically in the Chamber of the Faith in Besaid. When you get all the way through the end, when you're trying to, basically get Valefor to join your cause. The summoners go on their pilgrimage throughout Spira in order to, gain the favor of the faith, the different aeons. The summons is what they are. They're called aeons instead of summons in this, and try to become strong enough to vanquish sin when he appears.
A fun side note on the Hymn of the Faith, the words of the song are composed of Japanese syllables, but they're arranged in a way that they don't form words. But if you take the words of it, you kind of lay it out in an acrostic thing, and you read them in a different direction, you do get a set of lyrics that match the original melody. So there's kind of like a little hidden message set of lyrics in it.
That's pretty intense.
Yep. Apparently, the writer wanted the Al-Bhed language to originally be like a full-on linguistic system rather than just a substitution cipher. They ended up not being able to do that in order to have the little translation collection thing work, but some of those initial plans that he had for Al-Bhed ended up being used to compose the words for the Hymn of the Faith.
Very cool.
Yep.
And once Yuna is able to convince Valefor to join her cause, you'll also recognize this from the very, very beginning title screen of the game. But this is called The Summoning, which plays up the title screen as I said, as well as when Yuna first summons Valefor.
Yeah.
It's a very, special sound, a special moment, when a summoner collects and is able to bring about their first summon.
Yeah, we are going to learn more about this as we progress through the pilgrimage, but summoning and summoners are extremely important in this society. I mean, in general, in most Final Fantasy games, summoners are treated as special and significant in some way or another. You have Final Fantasy IV, where the false king of Baron wanted to destroy the village of summoners as a threat, and Final Fantasy Type 0 has an instance of summoning that I think is the quintessential example for why summoners should be feared. I'll send you that link later. It's a fascinating video.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that in the past.
Yeah. But yeah, this is one where summoners have an important role. Again, given the religious strictures and the setup of this, they have a very important role in that religion. And so someone becoming a summoner is a major event.
Yes.
I think we meet 3 other summoners over the course of the entire game, and every single one is treated as this is someone who is incredibly special.
And they're also kind of catty towards each other.
I mean, some of them are.
Well, one in particular, which we'll talk
one's
about.
One's catty, one's a little bit mixed on it, and but we have another one to deal with.
Yes.
And by deal with doesn't seem right. She's too nice.
We are introduced to Braska's daughter, aka Yuna, the summoner of Besaid.
Yeah.
This plays when Tidus is first speaking with Yuna, and trying to understand what happened in the
He's just charged in to rescue someone who seems to have come out okay. You've got that kind of plucked melody of Suteki Dane in it. Or at least some of the bits of it.
I'm just realizing we didn't get as far in the story as I thought we would in the first disc.
Well, some of these tunes will be reused later on. We'll be hearing them again and again. But also, there is a lot of scene setting going on in this kind of first chapter of things.
Definitely. And I think the beginning portion of the game has probably one of everybody's favorite scenes within Final Fantasy X.
At some point, we're going to have a talk about that, but I don't think we'll be hitting that today.
A talk about what? About that?
You know what you're doing.
Doing what?
So with this one, we've got that kind of like, dude, Like we've got that kind of that we've had before for stuff that has a little bit more again of like that kind of mystical, otherworldly quality to it. Because Yuna is someone who wields these incredible powers. Like he's kind of talking to this effectively like really great priestess.
Who's kind of regarded as a rock star.
The other thing I want to point out is the title of this, both in English, where it's called Braska's Daughter, and the Japanese one translates to Daughter of the High Summoner. For so many people, Yuna is seen not as her own person, but as a summoner or as the daughter of a high summoner. We know that a high summoner is someone who did something incredibly important. They're even rarer than summoners.
And we do learn that Braska was the last summoner to vanquish sin.
Yeah. It's like the high summoner is a summoner who has defeated sin.
But that's all we know about Braska at this point.
So at this point, Yuna kind of doesn't really have her own identity yet, at least as far as Tidus and as a lot of other people are concerned. Like, she is a summoner. She is the daughter of the High Summoner, who is following in his footsteps. Bit of a heavy legacy to carry there.
Little bit. And then to end off Disc 1, good night. Obviously,
Good basic little in theme.
Yep. Plays when party rests, most often at Rien's travel agency.
Yeah, we'll be finding Rin's travel agency scattered throughout the world. There are many branches of it.
Oh my.
What was even...
Wasn't I don't know if George Takei was the actual voice of Rien, but it sounds a hell of a lot like him.
Let me actually check that really fast.
Which is why I brought that up, because it definitely has that same cadence, and I want to say it's possible.
Let's see. Hang on, checking the database really fast. We want the English one. Oh, neat.
It looks like it was Tom Kenny.
Okay.
But definitely has the George Takei sound. It was very reminiscent, so I had to throw it out there. Come on.
Okay, I was not quite sure what your connection was there.
That's what it was, so. Anyway.
And I'm trying to see if he's done any other super memorable things that... Oh, he was the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants?
Yeah.
Well, there we go then.
So he's kind of a tall guy with glasses. Which they sound nothing alike, is the thing.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at his
IMDb. His IMDb.
Different site, but similar type of thing. And he's the Ice King in Adventure Time.
Yeah, he's actually Tom Kenny's a hell of a voice actor.
Yeah, he's got a good bit of range to him.
Yeah, definitely one of the good ones. So,
but yeah, so we have at this point, having met the summoner, being yanked from his world into this strange one, being thrown through a lot of different things. This is not the first time that we've had in a Final Fantasy setting a ancient advanced civilization that fell to ruin, where it's hundreds or 1,000 years later, where remnants of it are cropping up. We had like Aerith as the last of the ancients from FF7. You've got some of the remains of the various previous civilizations in FF8. Final Fantasy 1 had the Flying Fortress, where you find things like the War Mech and other stuff that suggests that this was also once an advanced civilization. So that element is not necessarily new, but having the main character coming from there and having kind of the entirety of the narrative be from the point of view of the person from the ancient world rather than the people in the modern world who are encountering it is a bit of a new take on it for the series. And again, they're really leaning hard a lot into that. He doesn't know what's going on. He's trying to put stuff together, missing a lot of the things that he's used to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why this is such a highly regarded game and probably one of the best Final Fantasies on PS2.
And in fact, I think it was the
fact,
first Final Fantasy that was on PS2.
And Final Fantasy 11 and 12 were on it, I guess.
Yep. But let me see.
Because 13 then went on the PS3.
I'm checking when the actual release and launch date.
Yes, it was like 2000 is when this was released.
But yeah, the PlayStation 2 was introduced in March of 2000, October of 2000 for Europe and North America.
Yep.
And then Final Fantasy X was released
2001.
About a year later.
Yeah, because the timing of the NA release of the PlayStation 2 and Final Fantasy IX coincided. Because I remember I pre-ordered both. And I got both on the same day. My first PS2 game was a PS1 game. But yeah, so that is the introduction to Final Fantasy X, at least via the original soundtrack.
Yeah. At this point, we've met a couple of the other characters, though we haven't really had themes for them. So we'll get into some more details and exploration of their music a little bit later on.
Exactly.
But right now, a lot of the focus is just on Tidus being yanked out of his world into this one, trying to get his feet under him, charging into unfamiliar situations and causing trouble, and encountering this, like, extremely important mystical person that he is warned that he should stay the hell away from. Not for his sake, but for hers. She is very important. She is a summoner. She is the daughter of the High Summoner. And we'll be learning a bit more about just how significant a thing that is, I think actually in the next few tracks, but that'll be for another time.
Yes. So on that note, thankfully, we have a little short one today. It's going to go ahead and do it for this episode. So if you liked what you heard, make sure to like, subscribe, or follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. We're on YouTube as well if you want to check out some of the VODs. Not just listen to it in an audio format, especially last week's episode. I did finally get the video up for that, by the way, so you can go check out the YouTube channel and see our playback of Chocobo GP. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Or whatever your preferred podcatcher is, and if possible, leave us a rating and review. It lets us know how we're doing and helps other people find our podcast. And if you really dig the show, you can consider subscribing here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio, where you get access to a number of subscriber-only emotes and badges. Or you can go out to patreon.com/PhoenixDownRadio, like our benevolent overlord, Aurora Fenrir, or our shadowy foreign investor, Tibian Salts, and support us in that way. All proceeds go towards growing the show, cover things like hosting costs, allow us to improve and upgrade our equipment, as well as do some fun giveaways and have a good time with you guys as well. But any kind of support, whether it's donations, subs, likes, tweets, retweets, whatever, we love all of it because we love it interacting with you guys and the rest of the community. If you want to check out our backlog of episodes, you can go to our website, PhoenixDownRadio.com. If you have questions, suggestions, or just want to say hi, email us, podcast@PhoenixDownRadio.com. And you can hit us up on Twitter at PHXDNRadio. Sarah, do you have any shout-outs?
Actually, you know what? I am going to go ahead and shout out one of our library interns. We've got a batch of them who are learning how to do programming for children. One of them actually developed a program that we put on as the first in-person program I have done in a while today. So big shout out to Juliana. You're almost certainly never going to hear this, but you put together a music program that was really fun, that the kids were actually pretty into. And like as your first go, it was really impressive. So I'll probably tell her this in person as well, but she did good. I want to give her a shout out for that. Yeah, it doesn't have to all be game related. I like to recognize people who are doing good stuff in all sorts of places.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at FF14Seyrr. That's FFXIVSEYRR. You can also catch up with me on our Discord. A lot of Discords that have lore forums I will tend to hop in. I like answering questions. Even with having to be in the office, I still manage to monitor Discord a fair bit. So just drop me a line. I'm always happy to chat about Final Fantasy lore, about interesting mythological tie-ins. I'm a librarian. All knowledge is eventually related.
No,
Let me talk your
you're
ear
a
off with so much information.
librarian.
Okay, I am a librarian. Let me talk your ear off so much. There are so many things I want to talk about that I left out because they're not quite appropriate for a music discussion, but oh my god, I have so much to say about this.
Like Chili's lack of plates.
Oh. We will make a non-terrible bachelor of you yet, Chili.
All right.
Or die trying. Probably that one.
Yeah, that one's more likely. And I want to throw a shout out to my tattoo artist, Andres. Dude, an amazing job on the dragon tattoo today. Like I said, check out the pictures channel in Discord. And I think I put the Phoenix tattoo in random for some reason. So if you want to check out the pair of tattoos that this guy did an amazing job on. If you're ever in my area, definitely check out Relentless Inc. That's the shop where I got these done. Definitely well worth the time. Amazing job. Brought him out a little bit out of his comfort zone to try something different, and he absolutely rocked it. So thank you very much for that amazing tattoo. Shout out to my sister, Pleb, and her friends who joined us at Anime Detour. Had an amazing time. Like I said, it was fun to see their reactions to this being their first convention and just having a good time. Connor and Logan, thank you so much for joining us on that. It was a pleasure to have you around, hang out with you guys, and hang out. Also, shout out to Nick Nar and his friend Stabs. I think that's what he goes by. Or that's what he went by on his badge. They were also at Detour, and we had a good time. We all had Pizza Luce on Saturday night as a group, which was really nice.
Are they a ton buddy? Stabs?
No.
Ton buddy stabs?
No.
No.
But
Stabs.
no, not that kind of stabs.
Okay, that's fair.
Yes. Also, because I forgot to do it at the beginning of the show, huge shout out to our Patreon producers, Nick Nar, Tibiant, and Aurori. Sorry, I forgot to do that at the beginning of the show, but you guys do deserve that for your ongoing support of Phoenix Town Radio. It is greatly appreciated, so thank you for that.
We love you so much.
Yes, and definitely a shout out to Seyrr for joining on this episode again, and hopefully you guys all enjoyed this as well. And if you want to follow me out on Twitter, I am at PHXDN_KLAUSS. I may post my tattoos and some stuff from Detour at this point. I wanted to kind of hold off on doing that until things kind of settled down and I was able to kind of gather myself. Well, we'll post some of that stuff out there in a bit. You're damn well going to see my Red Mage cosplay when that shows up. So look for that. That's going to be fucking amazing. I'm so can't wait. But yeah, so that's going to do it. Hope you guys had a good time. And like I said, we'll be jumping into more music in the future episodes. So for my co-host, Seyrr Timono, I'm Klauss Nightbringer, wishing everybody a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us here, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of PhoenixDownRadio.com and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for Phoenix Down Radio is the copyright of Square Enix. Opening music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out the Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/Guilty Gear Rock You. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/Guitar Wanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.